what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. If you'd like to join the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate Forum. Most importantly, if you'd like to join this discussion right here, right now, simply mute the page you are currently watching. Then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by 10th Man and Travis, otherwise known as Plain Truth. How you doing?
Hello, what up?
Good morning.
Good morning, good morning. Any signs of Earth curvature?
No, haven't seen it yet.
Travis, our man on the scene, looking for Earth curve?
Curvature is perspective.
Just perspective, yeah. Quite right. Any evidence of axial rotation?
Nope.
If there was some, should we be able to feel it, Nathan?
We should be able to feel some, if there was some, I would say.
Yeah, well then, no, I don't feel it. So my senses are saying there isn't any.
Actually, Adam Meakin once ran the mathematics for that, and he came to the same conclusion, which is to say that, yeah, you would feel it. It wouldn't be much, but you would feel it.
I heard of a description of someone standing somewhere up north and then, getting used to that so-called rotation up there being much less because it's north, and then getting on a plane flying to the equator to some country and then getting off and saying that because he was calibrated up there, and when the minute he steps on the ground in the equator, he should feel the difference. I thought that was pretty interesting, but they don't.
Yeah, we don't. There's no sensation. We don't feel a thing. There is no separate reference frame to cause a Coriolis effect. We're not spinning. Hey, Arwin.
Hello.
Hello.
We know when we get in a powered escalator and it's moving at a certain pace, you feel that because you're not walking; it's something's moving you. And then you get on the escalator that's flat, like at the airport where it's running flat. You feel that, but we can't feel the Earth moving. I mean, give me a break. Our senses would tell us.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Nope.
No, there's no confirmed measured distance to the sun.
No. How would you even do it?
You could just assume
Take
Venus
a very,
is the sun.
very long tape measure, tie it to the Earth, and then fly all the way up to...
I'm not sure even that would be possible. Again, that's your physical assumption bias kicking in, isn't it, Arwin?
Uh-huh. Yep.
Hey, Arvin, let's start a tape measure production company. We'll make a mint.
Sorry, say again?
We can start a tape measure production company because people would keep buying it from us to go measure it.
Oh, God. Well, let's just start with one. That'll probably take a very long time.
Hello, Chris, Matt, how you doing?
Not bad. How are you doing?
Very well indeed. Any scientific evidence of gravity? Shout out to Leonardo Gonzalez for the super chat. Thank you very much indeed.
Scientific evidence of what?
Gravity.
There's no evidence of it, but they keep telling us about it.
What about evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Hmm. No, I'll go for a chocolate core.
But you still have to get to the core, and we've only gone 8 miles. So how do you get there?
I just have to chew our way through.
There you go.
Chew our way through like moles.
We'll put you in that hole, Arwen, and you can start it.
What about the presupposition?
Just keep on biting, guys. We'll get to the chocolate eventually.
Oh, that's Jessica's input. Oh, that's going to stick, isn't it? Let's move on. Any evidence of the presupposition itself? Values. Hello, physics warrior.
Hey, Nathan. Panel.
R.
No.
Shout out to Sean's dad.
Who's getting a shout out?
Oh no, it's just an inside joke with Physics Warrior.
Fair enough.
Thanks, Babs.
Last but Go on. Hey,
No,
Chris.
it seems like a lot of their stuff is a presupposition.
Yeah, it's all a presupposition. Hey, Paul. Hey, Chris.
Hey.
Here's
Morning.
Paul.
Good morning.
Good morning. Last but by no means least, any evidence that a gas pressure can exist without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon? For all the fundies who believe in the vacuum of the sky, otherwise known as outer space.
Proof, of course.
But what about gas in a bucket?
Or gas in a pipe. Gas in a pipe.
I heard a new one yesterday about this
Hey, Brenda.
from Dr. Bob.
Are you talking about what Bob, the science guy, was talking about yesterday?
Yeah.
Do you need a lid on a container?
Depends on the density.
If it's
of the
containing gas, yeah, it needs a lid on it.
So it's not a container if it doesn't have a lid?
No, it depends on what it's containing.
So it's not a container. If you don't have a lid, it's not a container. It won't contain the gas. The gas will escape, right?
No, wrong.
And this
It
is
depends
a,
on
So
the density of the gas.
gas won't escape?
It depends on the
Yeah, the
density
gas
of
will
the
escape.
gas, Brenda.
yeah, the
So
gas will.
it won't escape. So it will disobey
Hold on,
the
you're making a
second law of
declaration.
thermodynamics?
Hold
It
on.
depends on the relative density
Hold
of the
on,
gas
please.
compared
Hold
to its
on.
surroundings.
Everybody's
including buckets
just
and the
accepting
air
her
above.
declaration. Yeah, entropy still takes effect. If that was one or how many words was that before Brenda interrupted me? That's strike one.
I didn't say anything.
Yeah, you're talking now, aren't you? So, if you've got a hole in a tyre, eventually the air will leak out. Now, that's not to say that for a short period of time you can retain some of the air, but if it's got a hole, entropy will eventually take effect. It's just a matter of time. Now, if you've got a very long, thin container and a very heavy gas at the bottom of it, yeah, temporarily you can slow down the effects of entropy, but entropy will absolutely still be in effect. It's a law of nature.
So like 3 hours, would that be a good enough time?
What, for the sulfur hexafluoride to dissipate into the air? That's
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
No, I've never
would that
seen
be
it.
enough time? 3 hours?
For the sulfur hexafluoride in a tank,
Yeah.
I would maybe say that it would definitely be dissipated at least to some degree into the air by probably half an hour with the sulfur hexafluoride. The reason I would assert that is because when they pump it in from one container to another, they seem to have to put a lid on the top of it to stop it from going everywhere. Now, it might settle for a short period of time, but eventually the movement of the air around it, the less dense gas that's above, will eventually interact with it, and it will just fill the container available to it by way of entropy.
So definitely by 3 hours, the sulfur hexafluoride would be dissipated in any container without a lid, right?
It's a law of nature. It's called entropy.
I'm just asking
Hey,
what
Nathan,
your
can I say
position
something
is.
real quick?
That's true, right? So your statement, I just want to be clear, is that definitely long before 3 hours is over, sulfur hexafluoride in a container without a lid, without a top, without a ceiling, it would, according to the second law, would dissipate. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would say so. Entropy's not
Yeah.
going to stop occurring.
So
Can I say
why
something real quick?
why is that not true? We observe that
Let's
that
see it.
doesn't happen.
Excellent. I've been waiting for this for a while. Show me this example of somebody pumping in sulfur hexafluoride into a fish tank with no lid, coming back 3 hours later and floating a tinfoil boat on it. Show me that then.
Yeah, Blue Marble science guy, that science guy, he with the pipe with the sodium hexafluoride
Sorry,
in it.
excuse me.
He left it.
Excuse me.
He left it for
Excuse
3
me.
hours.
Excuse
He left
me.
it for 3
Excuse
hours.
me. You seem to have substituted sulfur hexafluoride for butane and a fish tank for a pipe. What's going on?
Yeah, does that?
Sorry,
does that have,
excuse
does that have
me.
A lid?
Did I just
Does that have a
agree?
lid?
Shut up. Did I just agree that after 3 hours, a fish tank, so let's say that twice so she doesn't repeat it and ignore it again, a fish tank with no lid filled with sulfur hexafluoride would dissipate in 3 hours? That's what I agreed to. Anybody on the panel in disagreement with what I just agreed with Brenda?
Does the second law only apply?
Sorry,
does
that's
the
not
second law
me asking
only
you,
apply to
Brenda.
sodium
That's strike
sulfur
two.
hexafluoride?
Strike two. I asked the panel. Brenda answered. Shut the fuck up.
I'm on the panel.
Shut up.
I'm on the
I'm
panel.
asking
Nathan.
other people. You're not the centre of focus when I ask other panel members if I repeated correctly and agreed to... I say it a third time because she's obfuscated it so we don't lose track. I agreed that sulfur hexafluoride, that would be the specific gas we're talking about, in a specific container, that would be a fish tank, would dissipate after 3 hours. I've asked you to show me that, and now you're telling me about butane in a very long pipe. So, I'm asking the panel, that means not you, Brenda, not you. If
I'm on
I
the
have
panel.
any... Is that strike three? Is it because your your point is being absolutely...
I'm on the panel.
Yeah, you're
Does
being
the
shit.
second
Your
law
point's
only-
being
does
shit
the
on,
second
and I'm
law
asking...
only apply-
Bye,
does the
Brenda.
second law
You can't
only
shut up.
apply
Now you'll start
to
claiming
sulfur
victim.
hexafluoride?
Goodbye, Brenda.
You're going to shut
Bye,
up.
Brenda.
Does it only apply?
You're going to
You
shut
can't
up.
handle it. You can't handle it.
Sorry, so what she's done is called a false equivalence fallacy.
Yep.
She's agreed to one thing and then said, I've got an example of what we've agreed to, and then come up with something completely different. So this is a logical fallacy, and Brenda's
It's not
guilty
a
of it.
fallacy.
Excuse
That's not
me.
a
Let me ask you a
Yes, it
couple
is, Brenda.
Guys,
No, it's not.
guys.
Yes,
Let me
it
just
is.
ask her a couple
Because
of
the
questions.
second law applies to any gas.
Brenda, let me ask you a couple of questions. See if I get straight answers. We'll see. Is butane sulfur hexafluoride?
No, it's not.
So it's definitely not the same gas that I agreed to then. Is a long, thin tube a fish tank?
No, it's not.
So you're not going to be able to, with a long tube and butane, show me an example of sulfur hexafluoride not
can I
being...
ask you a question?
That's her last chance. You
Can I ask you a
stupid, fundy
question?
bitch.
I want to
Get
ask you a
out!
question.
That's what she does. When I obliterate her false, absolute bullshit, not kosher example that's a total false equivalency, she talks all over me. She won't let the point be made clear that butane and sulfur hexafluoride are very different things, and that a tube is not the same as a tank. But because she's got the equivalent of a tyre with a slow puncture, she thinks she can assert that entropy won't take place. I'm afraid not, Brenda. You've got a vast surface area with a much more dense gas at the bottom. Doesn't mean entropy won't take effect. It'll just take a little bit longer. Yeah, that's all you've done is delayed the effects, slowed them down. Entropy still takes effect. It's a natural law!
Bait and switch.
Bye-bye, Brenda.
One other observation, that's what I was trying to get in, if we can say it, that technically both the fish tank and the tube are still in a pressurized system, technically. So we've been asking for a vacuum. So technically a pressurized system kind of does fall outside that category.
Well, no, I don't want a vacuum. What the requirements are very clear. Gas pressure without a container. So the way you measure the force of a container is its pressure per square inch. the amount of force the gas puts onto the walls of the container. So a pipe, it's definitely got walls, and the gas can definitely press upon them. Now the gradient, this is just a dressed up gradient argument, yeah? Just a straw man. It doesn't actually address the point. Because yeah, you can have a gas pressure gradient, but if you've got a significantly lower pressure system and no barrier, the gas will fill the space. Entropy will take effect. Now they delay the effects with a massive long pipe and a small hole at the top and a much more dense gas than we actually have and claim victory. Well, no. Why have you come back, Brenda?
Yeah.
You're not going to rumpus me in my own show. You know, piss off. No, don't talk over me when I take your point apart. You've claimed that you've got an example of sulfur hexafluoride not being in a gas chamber or fish tank 3 hours later. And then when you came to actually show it, you're talking about something completely different. Butane in a long pipe. No, no, no. Don't do that to us, Brenda, you cheap piece of shit. Yeah? Just stick to what you're good at, deleting people's hard work. Yeah? Like the scumbag piece of shit that you are. Hey, Jess, how you doing? Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
How's
Yeah,
everyone?
Brenda's garbage. Complete garbage. Human garbage. That's what Brenda is.
I agree.
Nathan, I heard a new one yesterday. I want to share and get your all take on it. So I just jumped on Jose's briefly yesterday during my lunch period, and Dr. Bob was on talking to a couple of guys. I really didn't know who they were, but his argument was, so he made the claim that gas pressure on around Earth without gravity is possible. And he said it's possible simply due to the way that entropy works in terms of increasing and decreasing entropy due to temperature. So he says at the surface where it's hot, the entropy will increase, which causes the gases to rise, as we all are aware. And then as it increases in elevation, it gets colder. And so then the entropy, which decreases density, and then the entropy naturally decreases. And so then it falls. So he was basically saying it's sort of like a cycle where it starts high at the bottom, it rises, and then at some point, whether that's a mile or 50 miles, I don't know, the air temperature decreases the density of the air molecules, and it causes them to fall back down.
Yeah, that would work quite happily in a container. Unfortunately, with no barrier to press upon and a 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum, the gases want to go one direction into the lower pressure system. That's what entropy says would happen. The gas would want to go into the lower pressure system and reach equilibrium. So if the sky is a vacuum 10 to the minus 17 torr, then where we are now will eventually reach equilibrium, and we on the ground would be at 10 to the minus 17 torr, because it will reach equilibrium. That's what it's trying to do. That is what entropy is. It's trying to reach equilibrium. So if he's saying, oh no, it cycles, oh really? What's it pressing on at the top? Because according to them, it's not got anything to press upon, but in fact, that pressure's got a 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum to disperse into. No. Without the container, there can be no pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, I mean, my argument has always been, I think whether it's pressure or pressure gradient, you have to have a container. So when they say, well, how do you have a pressure gradient? With the container, that's the wrong question. We know that's possible. Even George Natchik admits that. The question is, how do you have a pressure gradient without a container? That's not possible.
I thought the point that Bob was arguing yesterday was that the pressure is being caused by the density of the atmosphere pushing against the surface of the Earth. Isn't that what he was saying?
Yeah, the bottom. They love to focus on the bottom. Yeah, that's lovely. What's it pressing on at the top? What's that you say? A 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum? Oh, it wouldn't press on that. It would disperse into it. And we would be right here, right now, at 10 to the minus 17 torr also.
Exactly.
And then his example, I asked him, I said, okay, do you have any real world practical experiments or tests done to prove that? And he said, yeah, hold on. He went and got a video of some billowing clouds, basically a weather system where the cloud at the bottom would rise, and then within a matter of, I don't know, hard to tell in clouds, 20, 30, 40, 50 feet, the top would sort of tumble back down on itself. And he said that's the evidence.
That's
that
called
this is what's
circular reasoning.
happening.
That's circular reasoning. I believe the sky is a
Right.
vacuum, and it's a vacuum because we have cycles. Therefore, the sky is a vacuum. Well, look, there you go. There's the cycles. Well, no. You're trying to prove that the sky is a vacuum by pointing outside. It's like the dickheads that go, I can prove it, go outside. It's like, no, going outside would demonstrate that we have gas pressure. Well, without the container, there can be no gas pressure or gas pressure gradient. Without the container, there is no pressure. You need the container. It's the necessary antecedent. If you're to say, oh no, it can press on the bottom only, then no worries. Get yourself a plate, turn it upside down, and then show me a gas pressure gradient sat on top of the plate. No problem, right? Now, obviously, we're on terra firma. There's the equivalent of a plate all around us. So I don't really need the plate, just do it on the ground. Show me gas pressure on the ground without any containment. Now, you don't have to do it next to a 10 to the minus 17 torr. If you like, you can do it next to the atmospheric pressure. Just show me a massively increased pressure versus atmospheric pressure existing on top of a plate without anything else around it. That's good enough. That's the equivalent. I mean, obviously, they're doing it on top of a marble. But plate, that's close enough. If you want one surface, I'll give you one surface, no worries. If it's the equivalent to Earth. Have a plate upside down, and then show me gas pressure on top of that plate without any containment.
It's not possible. I have a question about the gradient, now that we're talking about that. Okay, so stuff in the atmosphere arranges itself according to density and equilibrium. So I'm just wondering, the higher up we get, the atmosphere tends to thin out. Is the atmosphere higher up in altitude made up of the same elements that our atmosphere is lower down in altitude, if that makes sense?
I don't know the answer. I've not been there. However, we do. It's not in equilibrium. So you've said that, which seems like a reasonable thing to assert. It's not actually correct, though. We do have cycles. So the guy who's claiming cycles as his proof, well, yeah, we do have cycles, but that's an affirming the consequent, like all of them. Sky is a vacuum if we have cycles. Cycles, therefore, sky is a vacuum. No, just because we have cycles doesn't mean you don't have the necessary antecedent of a container to have gas pressure in the first instance. Like I say, show me on top of a plate. So the actual fact of the matter, even though it's been used in an affirming the consequent, is still true. We do have cycles. Hydrogen, nitrogen, hydrological.
We do have cycles, but with altitude, the atmosphere does appear to thin out. Am I wrong by saying that?
Sure. Yeah. The only problem comes when they say at the top, the gas pressure isn't pressing on anything. It's next to a 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum. Well, all that will happen is it'll all reach equilibrium. It'll all want to go into the lower pressure system. High pressure to low pressure, hot to cold.
Right. And we haven't confirmed that the gases in the upper atmosphere are made up of the same elements as they are in the lower atmosphere. We haven't confirmed that yet.
I haven't checked. I'm sure I could look up what they say it is. I don't know.
Yeah, because I was going to ask if it's the same concentration, which it's obviously not. Why isn't it following that same density gradient, if that makes sense?
Yeah, it's a reasonable enough question. I'd love to know what the sky is also. That's essentially what we're talking about.
Wait, what's the Can you rephrase the question? Why is there a density gradient? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I was just wondering, why is there a density gradient, hypothetically, if the higher atmosphere is made up of the same elements as the lower atmosphere? Wouldn't it all even out? Like, why would it be a gradient unless we're dealing with different gases?
I have an answer to that. That's because it's not fully at equilibrium. There is constant motion. There's constant heat exchange, which, despite the gradient still being there, kind of mixes everything around.
Oh, I think I've recognised your question now. I think I know what you're asking, what you're looking for as an answer. So I'll Hey Ruhif, how you doing? Hear us?
Yes, I can.
Good to have
Good
you.
evening.
So,
Yeah, go ahead, Nathan. I'm curious what
no
your
worries.
answer is.
Well, the gases are being produced at ground level. You know, you haven't got anything that's producing gases at the midpoint or at the top. Therefore, pressure gradient. Concentration is going to be at the highest at the bottom where they're made, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, makes sense.
And a lot of it has to do, keep in mind, with the temperature. So again, as you, and this is true. I mean, this is just Dr. Bob's basically trying to flip the answer to his side. But at the surface, where, as Nathan said, all the gas is produced. So first of all, that's a big reason, right? All the gas, like not a 95%, like literally 100% of all gas is produced at the surface. Okay, or not. Let's just say 99.9%, because you have airplanes and things flying. You could say, well, that's the 0.1%. Fine, 99.9% of gas is produced at the surface. The surface is hotter, generally throughout, right? You could say, okay, well, Antarctica, Arctic, fine, it's colder, but in general, the surface is hotter than the upper atmosphere. So as that hot gas rises, and to try and find its equilibrium, the heat is increasing its entropy. So the entropy is telling the gas, oh, you better go somewhere, right? You better do something with your energy. So it goes, Ruhif, you're causing a bunch of noise. So then it goes up, and as it goes up, well, guess what? It does get colder. And as those same gas particles are going up, it hits the decreased temperature, the density decreases, and the entropy does decrease. So in essence, you have a naturally occurring gas pressure gradient because of, and I'm not saying only because of, but in a large part because of the temperature gradient.
And does the pressure increase the higher up you get, or does it decrease?
No, it decreases.
Okay. Because Bob was trying to say that the pressure is being caused by the weight of the atmosphere, like the density is what's causing the pressure. So it's higher up, closer to Earth, because the density of the atmosphere is higher. And like when you increase your altitude, it decreases because there's less atmosphere that's pushing against you. But yeah, I do understand that may still require a container for that to happen.
The gases are being produced at ground level. That's why you have the highest concentration of gases at ground level.
Right.
Well, Bob's train of thinking requires you to assume that there is a force disequilibrium present at all time, something that you can't scientifically prove. But yeah, it's an aberration, so it will mathematically work out.
You need, so what they're trying to argue is, and Bob was arguing yesterday, is you don't need a container for pressure. That's completely false, especially for gas and liquid. Now, solid, you could argue if you need a container or not, but gas, you absolutely need a container for there to be pressure. So they'll argue, well, gravity is the cause of the pressure, and it's causing the weight of the molecules to be pulled down and sort of, create a layer. Well, no, there's no evidence of that. In fact, all tests, observation, and experimentation show you need a container for gas pressure. You even need a container for water pressure. The oceans are contained. All bodies of water are contained. So just because it's not the same, substance, it still needs to be contained. And I would even argue that solids, well, perhaps by their very nature are contained, but they have to be somewhere. That, like, if you had a brick sit in midair, I mean, is there pressure from the brick? I don't know. I don't think so. It has to be contained. It's got to be on the surface where it's thus been contained. So just because the particles and the way that they interact and the bonds are different doesn't mean that you don't need a container. Gas, absolutely, 100%. Anybody can see you need a container. Water, you still need a container. If you want to weigh water, you got to put it in something. You got to put it in a bucket or a jar or a glass. And then solid, I guess maybe that's the only one you could argue doesn't technically need a container, because it itself is rigid and is its own container.
Did you say
using the scientific method and the pressure being the effect? How would you prove that the cause is a container? You can't vary the container of Earth.
No.
That's not true.
No.
A container, you can expand. You can make a hole in it
Hold on.
and enlarge the total contained space. That's not true.
Hold on. I don't know anybody else isn't claiming there's a dome. We're saying the necessary antecedent to have gas pressure in the first instance is a container. So that's a necessary antecedent consequent relationship, as opposed to us saying anything about the sky. I don't know what the sky is. I do know that to have gas pressure, you must have a container. Something to press on.
Right, yeah.
Did you say that Bob said that gravity is the container? Did I hear you right? I'm
Yes.
sorry. Okay, so gravity is the container.
Gravity gets rid of the need for a solid type barrier container because gravity pulls.
So if gravity is the container,
Just before we get into the verbalization, did he give a demonstration of that?
No, of course not.
So he just pointed to the sky.
I
just want to summarize because I haven't seen the video. But so what he did was made an assertion, had no evidence whatsoever to back it, and then pointed to the sky with his circular reasoning to assert his fundamentalist belief about what the sky does. Correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's wonderful. Fundies, eh?
Yeah, and I told him when I asked him for experimentation or some sort of evidence that his gas pressure gradient due to density and that you wouldn't even need gravity is true, and he pointed to the billowing cloud system.
Oh yeah.
I said, oh great. I think there's a container. So you don't disprove a container. I'm going to assert container. So I can do it just as easily.
Yeah, circular reasoning, so easy. Shout out to Eric McKinney for smashing the super chat. Thank you very much indeed for your support.
So I've argued that conceptually, as long as there are two directions pretty much contained somehow, that upwards, for example, technically it could be supremely vast. And that would mean that the gradient would start to accumulate, start to double the distance over which the total pressure will diminish or half, that kind of thing, and it will keep on expanding. But there will be no vacuum anywhere in that technical sense. There will definitely be that gradient, but there will be no vacuum at any point. So yeah, a gradient can be in huge areas, but there will never be a vacuum as part of that gradient at any point.
But when does the gradient go from non-zero to zero?
It doesn't ever. That can only happen theoretically if the space is eternally large.
Hold on. So that would be called a burden of proof fallacy, correct? So you're reversing the burden of proof. We don't claim that, Ruth, if you do.
I'm asking a question, Nathan.
Yeah,
and I'm answering
about what you claim. So that would be the burden of proof reversal fallacy then.
We agree.
Sorry, I don't claim the sky is a vacuum. You do.
Right.
I'm sure we agree that there is a pressure gradient, do we not?
Sorry, excuse me. Hold on. Straw man using asshole. So, Ruhif's already used two fallacies. Sorry, we agree there's a... What, sorry?
We agree there's a pressure gradient, right?
Oh, right. So why would you talk about it being at zero then? Because that's not what you asserted first off. So now we're going to use this little straw man. Yeah, we agree. So what? You can't have a gas pressure gradient without a container either.
At what point is a container required?
It's the necessary antecedent. You need something to press on to have pressure. Can you show us any example? I can show you 1,000. Can you show me a single example where you don't need a container, please, Ruhif? Without using hold on. Without using the Bob the Fallacy guy pointing at the sky with circular reasoning, please.
Our atmosphere has a pressure gradient.
Oh, so you are going to use your fundamentalist belief in what the sky does to prove what the sky does. That's called circular reasoning. That's 3 for 3. How many more fallacies you got, Ruhif?
Ruhif, I just claim there's a dome. How about that?
Hey, yeah, I'll point at the sky, Ruhif. Ruhif, he says there's a dome. Look at the sky. Look at the sky. That proves there's a dome, right? Circular reasoning 101, my friend. That's 3 fallacies you've used in one sitting.
Show me this dome, Christopher.
I'm suggesting there's an eternal gradient.
Mumble. Yeah, you haven't answered any of my questions. Is there an example of a gas pressure without the necessary antecedent, Ruhif? Your claim, your fundamentalist belief.
You claim there needs to be a barrier. I don't.
Yeah, I've just said. You haven't addressed it. I can give you 1,000 examples of a barrier, a container needing to be there, something to press on to have pressure. Yeah, I can demonstrate that with ease. Now, can you...
That's called a
you're interrupting me, man. You've not addressed my point. Yeah, I heard your point twice. Now address mine. Have you got an... Ruhif, it's all right, my friend. You fundies are all the same. Is this your only tactic? Yeah, listen to it, then address it. Simple. Listen to it first. Do you have any one single example of gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container? Please show it me.
I reject your assertion that it needs a container.
Sorry. My assertion, it's the necessary antecedent. Thousands upon thousands of demonstrations that adhere to this necessary antecedent example. You don't have a single example, but you say you reject my claim. No, Fundy.
Do you know what a black swan fallacy is, Nathan?
This is called a red herring fallacy. That's 4.
Do you know what a black swan fallacy is?
Sorry, does it have anything... Sorry, is this a demonstration of gas pressure without a container? Or is it a red herring fallacy?
The atmosphere is a demonstration.
Excuse me, Fundy, we've dealt with this, you stupid fuckwit. Yeah, pointing at the sky... Shut up! Okay. Pointing at the sky and asserting what the sky does is your fundamentalist, fuckwit, circular reasoning. Didn't you hear me this first and second time?
I've heard you, Nathan.
Well then, show me the necessary antecedent not being required as you believe. Don't just tell me the sky does it. Don't tell me you reject the necessary antecedent. That's not good enough. That's not good enough. You can't just hand wave this away. Sorry, we actually want to see your fundamentalist belief that you don't need a container, even though there's tens of thousands, if not millions of examples of containers holding gas pressure. You think you don't need it? Show it us.
The atmosphere, you don't need a container.
How many more times will this fuckwit assert his fundamentalist zealotry belief about what the sky does? Yet you're trying to prove the sky is a vacuum. Don't point at the sky, you stupid moron. That's 3 times. How dumb are you? Have you got some sort of Tourette's issue where you keep repeating the same shit over and over again?
No, it's really late for him, to be fair.
I think he's just got Tourette's. Have you got Tourette's?
Probably just
you got Tourette's? Don't point at the sky to prove what you think the sky is. You claim it's an open... Yeah, there we go. There he goes again. Only tactic that they've got when they're being demolished by me is to talk. While I talk and rip apart your fundy belief in the sky vacuum. Don't just point at it and say that's what it is, you fucking fundy. Show me it without a container. Gas pressure without it. Go, Rufus, go. Prove your fundy belief.
I will keep pointing at the sky until you kick me out, Nathan.
Oh, well, then you're just a fucking pathetic fundy, then, aren't you, you stupid zealot? No, let's stay and poke fun at him. So you're just going to use circular reasoning, logical fallacy, to prove your fundy belief. How pathetic is that?
I'm not trying to prove.
Yeah, you are. You're saying the sky is a vacuum, and then you're pointing at the sky. That's circular reasoning, dickhead. Don't you understand this simple logical fallacy? What a retard.
Well, fantasist, because you're...
Fundy.
Fundamentally believing that a natural law just doesn't work, that makes you a fantasist.
Yeah, fundy.
Okay.
Unless you have a good reason.
Yeah, he's right. You're a fundy. You're a fantasist.
Okay.
You can't demonstrate your belief in a sky vacuum. All you can do is use logical fallacy and point to it and go, I believe it's a sky vacuum, there it proves it. Right, dickhead? Keep doing it. We'll keep laughing at you.
Okay, I'll keep pointing at the sky for another 20 minutes.
Good, you fucking fundy. We'll all laugh at you. Circular reasoning, it's a logical fallacy. You're just too retarded to realise, and you'll keep doing it like a total dumbfuck.
Nathan, I think that Ruhif needs the prayer.
Radius Dominus, Gravitus Spiritus Sanctus, Arwin. Go in peace, Ruhif. In R you trust.
I did have a question about bricks.
Hey,
Why?
Rufus.
Why? Hold on. You haven't shown us gas pressure without a container. All you've done is continually assert your fundamentalist belief about it, and now you want to move on.
Rufus, Nathan's already stated that he will show cause and effect for his position. Please show us yours.
Nathan has asked me to show you a gas pressure without a container. I'm pointing at the atmosphere.
That's your fundy
There's no
belief.
fallacy
That's
in
the
that.
5th time I've told him. That's a logical fallacy. It's called circular reasoning. Repeat after
You asked me
me.
a question,
Repeat
answer it.
after
It's not
me.
empirical proof.
Repeat
You haven't
after me.
confirmed that it's
That
the
is
case.
a logical fallacy. It is circular reasoning. Do you not get this? Are you too dumb? I thought you were educated. Isn't this sinking in?
So you've asked me 3 questions. Can I respond?
Yeah, do you not understand that asserting
Do I
your
not
proof of a
understand?
sky vacuum by
Okay.
pointing at it
Let
is
us-
circular reasoning? You don't get that? Are you too dumb? You want to ask me
Let me
questions?
talk about
Just go,
circular
yeah, I'm too
reasoning.
dumb. I like using logical fallacies because I'm a fundy.
You're just going to keep interrupting me, Nathan?
You haven't shown me gas pressure without a container. I don't give a shit what you've got to say. You've told me your position. I'll just keep pointing at the sky. Yeah? Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
You're a fundy. All you've got to prove the sky vacuum is pointing at the sky and claiming it's a vacuum.
My turn?
You've told me your position, fuckwit. Did you not realise that you
Okay.
closed all doors to
So
this
why do you
argument?
keep talking
Yeah,
to
you're
me?
going to
Not
talk
gonna
over
bring
me.
anything
You've
new, are you,
closed...
Fluid?
Arwen's going to rumpus me.
Well, no,
You've
I am
closed
actually.
all doors to this argument by telling me your position. I will point at the sky continually for 20 minutes until you kick me out. I know your position, you dumb fundy. You've told us.
Right, and
Actually,
you might be pointing up, but you're pointing at the ceiling, which happens to also be a container, by the way.
Yeah, Owen, you asked if I was going to bring something new, and I am. I actually did come on to talk about bricks. So Nathan put up a video this morning about looking at a brick that was beyond the diffraction limit. So you couldn't see it, and he talks about, adding a second brick on top. Can you now see those 2 bricks, or can you add 10 bricks or whatever? All in a effort to show that things disappear from the bottom up. So my question for Nathan is, if one brick is unresolvable, and let's say you attach it to a drone 50 feet or 100 feet or whatever in the air, but you also have 10 bricks stacked on the ground, which one will you see?
Who cares? You're looking against the deck.
Who cares?
That's what,
The
bricks on the ground.
Sorry,
The
I was
bricks
trying to
on the
answer
ground.
Roo here. I got 2 words out. Who cares when we're looking at how things disappear against the deck? Are we looking at how things disappear when they're hovering on drones? Or do you just need to make this false equivalence? Because the angle is against the deck. Didn't you get that part? That's where the things that we talk about disappearing happen. You moron.
So you won't see the brick in the air, but you
Hey,
will see the bricks
fuckwit!
on the
You're
ground.
gonna actually address what I've said. Yet there is no example you will provide, like gas pressure without a container, of us comparing pictures of fucking hovering drones looking at it disappearing. We always look at the stuff that's against the horizon, against the deck, dickhead. That's what gives you the limited angle. You stupid fundy moron. Like gas pressure without a container, you won't give me a single example that we've looked at where there's a hovering bottom disappearing. Will you, fundy? You just need to take this example out of context. Yeah, the bottom disappears because that's where the limited angle is. Against the deck, dickhead.
Keep reporting the question, Nathan.
What? You're going to show me an example of where we've got hovering bricks that we're looking at and working out Earth curve calculations for how much has disappeared in the middle of the fucking air? Or do we tend to compare things that have disappeared against the deck, against the horizon? Where's it gone? Oh, well, the horizon's an Earth curve blocking it. No, the horizon's the limited end of your vision, the diffraction limit, where things disappear because they're too small of an angle against the deck. That's what gives you the angle you're looking at. And as you raise, you can increase that angle. But when you're nice and low, that angle's really small, forcing the diffraction limit to come earlier and things to disappear from bottom up. Nothing to do with bloody drones and false equivalences that you're giving us. Yeah, stuff that's higher up, you'll have a higher angle to it. But against the deck you won't, will you, Ruhif?
Yep.
silence from the fundy fuckwit.
Oh, my question still hasn't been answered, Nathan.
Yeah, you can see the brick if it was on a drone, because you'd have a wider angle to it. What about next to the deck, Ruhif? I've answered your fundy question. I've answered your fundy question. Now you answer me. Against the deck, with a limited angle, if something is beyond the diffraction limit, I'll say it again in case he missed it, we know he's stupid or deaf. Against the deck, with the limited angle, once something's gone beyond the diffraction limit, can you make it come back by putting things on top of it, Ruhif? Na 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 na. How long are you gonna need, Fundy?
The angular size of one brick doesn't change whether it is high in the air or on the ground.
Yeah, it does.
So your
No, it does. You're wrong. Yeah, you're wrong.
Wrong.
Yeah, you're wrong. Do you know what foreshortening is?
I do.
Well, as you get lower to the deck, your angle is decreased. What do you mean? That was a very weak concession from the guy with the shittiest mic on the panel. What's wrong with your audio, fucking Fundwit Fundy? Can't you sort your audio out? All you've done is create disturbance, assert a fundy belief in a sky vacuum, and now concede that by the effects of foreshortening, the lower angle, say it again for the fundy, against the deck, is a very limited angle, and things can absolutely disappear from bottom up because of the diffraction limit, Ruhif. What's wrong? Not enough silence for you to come up with a fundy fuckwit reply?
No, you just keep putting implicit assumptions in your question, so I
No assumptions. Due to a limitation of the angle, you can reach the diffraction limit and obscure things from bottom up. This is a fact of optics. You don't have to like it, you stupid fundy. You can just assert that when you put things in Muppet vision and give them in actual sizes, feet and inches, that don't change with distance, then when you look at it side on, geometric Earth curve is the reason and only reason things disappear from bottom up. But I and everyone watching knows, and Apollo knows, and it seems you know, that there is a diffraction limit. That things can disappear due to a limited angular size. And a brick that's gone can have stuff on top of it that can be seen, but it's still at the bottom and can't be.
No. Just
That's a really good hand wave dismissal there from the fundy fuckwit. No.
You want to run through an example, Nathan?
I can't even hear you. Your mic's so crap. These retards that don't even know how to use a microphone.
Ruhef says no, but he actually saying inside no.
What's wrong with my mic? Is my mic that bad?
Yeah, it's fine now. I think it was actually my end. Sorry.
We could hear you, Ruhif.
Excuse me.
I haven't been able to understand.
Oh, what the fuck? So you're going to come here, tell us about your fundy sky belief in a vacuum, belch, you disgusting slob.
Just testing the mic.
You disgusting slob.
Is that Skype for me or is that Skype for the panel?
Hey, Ranty.
That might have been me.
Ranty.
Hello.
We could hear you, Rancy.
How's it going?
So a total fail from Ruhif.
Ruhif, you haven't even conceded the container, the sky. You haven't even given us a demonstration of the sky holding in the gases without being a container. Can you please do that?
Nathan asked for an example of gas pressure without a container. I pointed to the sky. I'm not saying, like a begging question fallacy is when you say in one of your premises that the sky doesn't have a container, blah, blah, blah. Therefore, the conclusion is that the sky doesn't have a container.
All right, I would assert that the sky is unicorn farts. Ranty, can you look at the sky for me? Do you want to know why it's blue? Unicorn farts. Do you know the proof? Look at the sky. That's akin to your argument. That's how crap your argument is.
It's the edge of the matrix, you know it.
Ruhif, pointing to the sky doesn't prove anything. But you need to prove
I'm not trying to prove anything.
No, it's just his fundamentalist fuckwit religious belief. He doesn't want to prove it. He just wants to believe in it. He wants to believe in Narnia because space is really cool, isn't it?
Let me give Ruhif an example. I have five greenhouses, and the ones that have the plastic covering on, they're hotter when I walk into those. The ones that I have not put the plastic cover on, I don't feel the heat. So instead of pointing, I say the reason it's hotter in here is because I have a container of plastic keeping the heat in. When we walk to the greenhouse without the plastic container, it's not hot. So I'm proving why there's heat.
No, you're not proving it. You're seeing a correlation. That's all you're seeing.
No, it's the necessary antecedent. It's not a correlation. Sorry, if it was a correlation, there'd be examples that don't conform to it. The exceptions to the rule. Now, I want you to show us that exception to the rule. It's not a coincidence. It's not a correlation. It's an antecedent.
I reject your antecedent.
So, rejection because of faith in a sky vacuum that you'll point to in a minute? Or do you have any examples that defy that?
I reject your antecedent.
I don't give a shit what you reject, you fundy. Do you think that's wet? Do you think that has weight here? Your rejection of a necessary antecedent? Oh, who cares, you fundy? Are you reject it, do you? Wowee! You reject it. Oh, that's good for you. Where you getting your PSI values from then? What's it pressing on? What's the per inch?
That's a good question, actually. Where am I getting the PSI values on? Right, so we have gas pressure at the surface, right? 14 PSI. All right, we agree?
In what direction?
At the top. No, don't listen to the show. At the top. What's it pressing on at the Do you think I give a shit about ground level when we're talking about a sky vacuum you believe in? Do you think I care about the bottom? What's it pressing on at the top?
Ruhif, please answer this question. Does a correlation have physical form?
I don't even know what that question means, to be honest. Does a correlation?
Well, you said that my plastic cover is a correlation. I look at it as a physical form. It cost me $400, and I could see it and touch it.
No, you're seeing a correlation. You're seeing a correlation between
physical form.
You're seeing a correlation between having a roof on your greenhouse and higher heat, and not having a roof and lower heat, right?
Go on.
Yeah. Do you think that proves that the roof causes the change in heat?
What it proves is that the heat that would normally rise to an equilibrium is contained within the container of the greenhouse roof. That's what it proves.
It doesn't prove it. This is actually what I want to take note of.
Oh, really? Really? It doesn't prove it. Go to any greenhouse and tell me why you feel heat at that level of ground, and walk outside without it, and you don't feel the same heat, and because it's dissipating higher. Are you nuts?
The greenhouse effect is officially, literally trapping.
No, he's not nuts. At least he's consistent. Sorry. Hold on. You can't get away with that. He's not nuts for being consistent. He rejects the antecedent of a container and relabels it a correlation. The guy's an idiot.
I would like everyone listening to Google the term scientific proof.
You reject science, Ruhif.
No, I don't reject science.
And you reject science.
I reject that science proves things.
Yeah, you reject the foundations of it all.
You reject that it proves things. Proves or disproves your hypothesis.
No, it doesn't.
So it doesn't prove or disprove a hypothesis. That's not the entire purpose of science, to prove or disprove a hypothesis.
It does not prove or disprove. It provides support or it disproves.
So it disproves.
Well, it can disprove, yes.
So if it's disproving it, what's the opposite of disproving? Not quite disproving?
Oh, it's the same kind of
analogy. Sorry, you're not answering. What's the opposite of disproving? Sorry, what's the opposite of disproving?
Proving.
So you're saying it disproves or
confirms.
Confirms. So confirms would be the same as validates or proves. Confirms. Confirmation. Proof. That's what confirmation is. Proof. Validation. Yes. It validates or invalidates your hypothesis. So your assertion is wrong. It does prove or disprove.
No,
it does validate or invalidate. It does confirm or deny your hypothesis, Ruhif. You're just an idiot. Again, lots of demonstrations of stupidity from Ruhif today. Happy days.
Happy days. We've still got 5 minutes, Nathan. Question: if you are charged with a crime and you go on trial, are you found guilty or innocent, or are you found guilty or not guilty?
Oh, another equivocation fallacy. Scientific evidence is not the same as judicial evidence. These are very different standards, Ruhif. Why would you juxtapose scientific evidence with courtroom evidence? They're not the same.
To show you what a true dichotomy is, Nathan.
Oh, really? Well, we're not talking about what happens in a courtroom. We're talking about validation of hypothesis.
It
That's
sounded
what we're
more like
talking
a
about.
false dichotomy.
So, yeah, in a courtroom, yeah, you can't establish the cause definitively, empirically, in a courtroom, but you definitely can with science. You can validate or invalidate your hypothesis. That's the point of doing it.
You can provide support for a hypothesis.
Oh, so
or
it's
you can
support again
disprove
now,
it.
is it? It's just support.
Good volley.
Seems to be circle jerking us. It's gone back to support again, has it? Wow. What a wanker.
You're breaking up, by the way, Nathan.
When I ask for support of the reality of a greenhouse, you can't even give it. You deny the reality of a greenhouse. Why would anyone take anything you say seriously?
I think you guys all need a bit of schooling in philosophy of science.
What, from a retard that can't demonstrate a single assertion that he makes? That circle jerks us, that uses logical fallacy and circular reasoning to prove his fundamentalist belief in a sky vacuum? You think you should be educating us? What an absolute outrage.
I think, Ruhif, you should come into my greenhouse when it's 100 degrees and see how long you can sit there before your body starts to sweat and you'll cry to be let out.
Don't
That's
get me
very
wrong.
interesting,
I
Ruhif.
completely accept that the greenhouse with a roof on will be hotter than the one without. Don't get me wrong.
I deny your antecedent of a container being necessary. And with that, I'll say if you are watching this on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. However, if you're watching this live on Nathan Oakley 1980, then unfortunately, this is where we bid you farewell. A massive, huge, enormous thank you to Tina for smashing the super chat in a big way. Sorry for not getting a shout out to you earlier. And of course, a massive thank you to all of today's debating panel for making this debate possible. Again, if you're watching on Nathan Oakley, stay tuned. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!